Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Police Applicant Podcast. It's January 2025, and this is the premiere episode of season 5.
Wow.
Season 5 already. And joining us today, we got some, for our opener, we got a really, really good episode. We have with us Investigator Jesse Cohen, Westminster, Colorado Police Department. He's been involved with recruitment and hiring and background investigations for a long time. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you.
And,
good to be here. I think this is my 4th or 5th one for you, so I'd have to go back and look.
Jesse's been a guest, and he's also been a co-host. I don't know if you remember being a co-host.
I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also joining us is Captain Robin Petillo of the LAPD Recruitment Employment Division, also known as RED. And Robin's been a guest before, too. Robin, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Of course. And so, real quick, before we get into this, let's. This is also going to be on YouTube, so we have some information here. We want to talk a little bit about Robin and Jesse and Donovan, because this show today, for our opener for the season, what I thought would be good would be to kind of go over 2020, the year 2020, and what happened with recruitment around the nation and police departments. And here we are in 2025. The tide seems to be turning. And I think I've assembled here with these three people, the all-stars of police recruitment and hiring. And so all three of you are still currently involved with all that. And Jesse and Donovan, you guys both were involved in the 2020 at the time that there was recruiting and all the problems there. Robin came in about 2 years later, Robin?
2023.
Yeah, so you came in right after everything had fallen apart. The wheels had come off the car.
Ken, I was actually working patrol during 2020.
Oh, 2020. So when
did you? I was on patrol.
When did you get into recruitment? Right after everything happened, then?
No, I was. Like 2022 is when I kind of started.
Okay. So you came in about the time that Robin did as well, and Donovan. So you were the one that was in the thick of it when all this stuff was happening.
Yep, I was.
And we met somewhere around that time then.
We would have met like 2021.
Okay. Well, Donovan, I'm going to have you jump in whenever you want to jump in, but you're going to be one of my guests too, because
right.
Last time I was in backgrounds was in 2018, and so everything was, I guess everything was kind of hunky-dory back in 2018 to a certain degree, and so I don't have, this is out of my depth as far as what happened in 2020 and how it affected you guys. So Jesse, let's start. Well, because Donovan's up at the top. Donovan, you're still working at the academy. What is you've retired, but you're still involved in all that stuff. What are you doing today?
I'm retired, but I am working at the academy. So I'm seeing all the new recruits that the departments in Washington are hiring. But I also do work privately for a company. I do backgrounds yet for a company for police departments. So still involved in the background business as well.
Okay. And Jesse, what's your role?
Yeah, so I'm an investigator, Westminster, Colorado Police Department. I know a lot of your viewers have seen a couple of other, episodes that I've been on. I do a lot of the recruiting. Obviously I know, with the podcast, I've been all over Police One. I have another series actually coming out on Police One, and then we do the background investigations as well, and then some of the training too. So.
Okay. And Robin, your assignment is kind of at the very tip top of the LAPD food chain. So what's your role today?
My role is I'm the captain of LAPD's Recruitment and Employment Division. I've got close to 70 people now. 2/3 of the people are dedicated to the cause of hiring our recruits. We put a class out every 28 days. And then about 1/3 of the people I have working are recruiters and mentors. And then we have various tasks sprinkled amongst all of us. And then I'm the hiring authority, so I get to actually hire the candidates for each class.
And hiring and at the academy. So you guys are pretty up to speed as far as what's going on today.
Yes.
Right.
I think so.
Okay, I think so. I'm not sure.
Sometimes I wish I wasn't, but
so let's recap what happened in 2020. I'm pretty familiar with all the stuff that happened in 2020. That was a really bad time just for police in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure we can do this without being political or anything like that. I think we can just basically just get into the weeds about what happened and all that. So in 2020, George Floyd happened in Minneapolis, and then everybody was anti-police, and then everybody hated the police, and then nobody wanted to be the police. And so that's basically, did I miss anything?
COVID, I think, happened too.
Yep. COVID happened and the mandatory jab.
And
Yeah,
lockdown and a lot of people staying home from jobs and school.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we stopped hiring for a good portion of time.
Oh,
We stopped hiring for about a year.
You guys didn't hire at all for a year?
That fiscal year, which goes July to June, we hired 79 people, which for us is pretty small.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to get that machine going again.
It's funny because, like, for us, we at Westminster, and Ken kind of knows, but we've never had a problem hiring. I mean, we get laterals all the time. We get people from all over. But basically in 2020, the biggest thing for us is just nobody wanted to be a cop, so we were losing people, not so much that were quitting, but the people that could retire. So, if they were in the drop or they had 25 or 27 years on, but still had a couple of years left, they were just pulling the plug right there. And then I remember, I think I was working patrol, and we had maybe, 30 applicants or something, that wasn't from Westminster. That was just nobody was applying at the time. So, you're losing people that can retire, and then you're not able to fill it because, you're getting however many people, and maybe one or two of them, we were maybe sending, if we were lucky, one, maybe two to the academy. And that's, for us, that's pretty small.
wow. That is recruitment went down. Donovan, were you guys getting many recruits?
Well, during that time, it was the difficult time because we had to move over to the online interview process. So that made things a little difficult. We were having issues with the testing because all the testing was still set up to be in person. So the company we used, they were in the process of getting that set up for online. But I mean, my department was one of the only departments in the area that continued to hire. I mean, I didn't see a huge reduction in the number of people that we were interviewing through the process and getting through. I would say that it was just a different quality of person that was starting to come through. I would say that that's right when the change really started happening, seeing a different quality of person coming through.
I agree with that. I think the quality definitely went down in 2020 because a lot of the people that maybe thought about being cops in the past decided to go do another profession, at least for about a 2 or 3 year period.
Right.
And for us, since we deal in so much volume, since we have so many classes to put through, we are really dependent on the outreach that we do, like the candidate advancement program with the working out, the seminars that are in person where people can talk to a real police officer. And we had to stop all that. So our engagement went down. The applicants might have still been there from before and they were just on hold, not hearing anything. Then we didn't have any academy classes for a period of time. So once we started hiring again, I think there's people that left the pipeline. They got impatient or lost interest.
I don't know if you guys know, did your fire department suffer too? Because, I mean, I remember, at least out here for the firefighters, they were getting thousands of applicants, and they said they can't even hire. And, especially in that period, they were suffering too. So I don't know if you guys pay attention to that, or if that was just like a local thing here.
No, I think there were the politics of the age was affecting the fire department as well, and a lot of the city budget was put to, I guess, like the COVID response for the massive homeless population. So I don't know to what point they stopped hiring for the fire, but I think they have less of a problem getting interested candidates. And then obviously they all have to be EMT certified and go through a lot of classes on their own before they can even apply. So it seems like there's always young people interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, they told me. I remember talking to those guys. At least our fire department and the local, all the metro area agencies around Denver, every one of the fire departments had just as much trouble as we did.
Yeah, I never thought of that, because everybody wants to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Everybody loves the firefighters. But so 2020 was a difficult time, and recruitment not only went down, but recruitment was suffering a little bit prior to 2020. 2020 did not help the situation at all. And then it was very unpopular. The reason I say 2020 didn't help, because I remember doing consultations with police applicants prior to 2020, and they were still getting people that were all over them because they wanted to be police officers. This was before 2020, and their family or whoever, and I would talk to people like that. 2020 rolls around, all this stuff happens, all this police hate, and then recruiters go out and they go, "Hey, you want to be a cop?" And that was very, very unpopular, right in the midst of the riots and everything. So,
plus
you came in.
I'm sorry. Plus I think there was some people were scared at the beginning of the pandemic to be outside, and there's nothing about a police officer job that lets you stay home. So they were introduced to a lot of Zoom and virtual type events. This was one job that was never going to be virtual. So I think that opened people's eyes to, hey, I could maybe just stay home and work. So that's another form of competition, I think.
That's a good point. I mean, I've had a lot, like, I don't know if when you go to the colleges, but I still get that where people are like, yeah, can I work from home? I'm like, no, not in this job. But we didn't even have a recruiting team back until I started it, or until I went back helping out in 22 and then went back full time in 23, because we didn't really need one. And then it wasn't Westminster, it was just policing as a whole. And it was, now I don't know if there's a department out there that doesn't have some sort of recruitment team.
I think the colleges went dark for a while, and they weren't allowing in-person seminars or anything, which did not help.
Yeah. So another thing that happened in 2020 with the pandemic is that you couldn't be in person with people. So you were talking about everything went online to Zoom, and then even in Washington State, they were doing PATs on Zoom, on the computer. And then background investigators weren't doing anything in person. Everything was telephonic. Background investigators were away from the office. And I'm kind of curious, when we move forward, how that affected backgrounds after the pandemic was over, because things changed then too. But Donovan, I'm going to switch to you for a second, because you were there in 2020. When did you notice there was a shift in recruitment?
It was pretty quick. I would say after the George Floyd incident. Once the defund the police started coming out, all that, there was that real big shift. I was starting to see not the people that have always wanted to be a cop. It was those people that, well, I can't find anything else. I know you guys are hiring, so why don't you give me a chance? So it wasn't your typical applicant that was coming through. And, for 2020, I know you said that we went mostly virtual. I was one of the only background investigators in my area that said, when it came to a background, you're coming in, we're meeting face to face all through COVID. I never missed a one-on-one face to face unless it was a lateral that was out of state or something like that. So I was still doing them face to face, and because to me, it was just too important. They did the interviews, the oral board interviews over Zoom, but to me, I told my chief, I said, this is too big of a position. We can't do it all over Zoom. We can't do it all over the internet. We've got to go out and make those contacts. So I was one of the only ones getting out there and actually meeting people face to face, and I'm still here to talk about it. So it couldn't have been that bad.
Good. Now, did all three of your agencies get defunded?
No, we didn't get 2020. I remember we talked about this on our first podcast. It didn't really affect us as a department directly. We had the indirect effect, but we didn't get defunded. We were still supported through it. It was the indirect, I guess, media attention and politics that were kind of affecting us, but nothing like that. There was a department in Colorado that we know of, that you guys know too, that was defunded, but there's only one that I can think of.
Yeah, we actually grew by 13 officers. So our city came out and said, crime's getting out of control. We need more officers. And they actually gave us more officers. So yeah, we were already having a hard time hiring the positions we had. And then they gave me 13 more to keep trying to hire. So
nice.
Yeah. So Robin, tell us about what happens when the police get defunded.
Well, and I'm not an expert in city budgets, and there's pots of money that are being held in all different types of ways. And, but put it this way, if you planned on hiring 600 people, but then midstream you change your plan and you say, you're not going to hire those 600 people. They had planned to spend the money on those 600 people, salaries and whatever costs there are. So I think that money was temporarily moved away, and that's all it really took. The stopping of the hiring, and then move the money and send the message. And then that message went to loud and clear to the people that work at LAPD and the people that were thinking about it. And that's when we started seeing an increase in retirements and people that said, you know what, I was going to do this for 5 more years, but I think I'm good now. There are people that left before they were able to collect a pension, and they found other law enforcement jobs in other states. And that's sort of a defunding, whether or not the money was there or not, because people left.
Right.
And I think that they actually did defund LAPD by a few $1 million. I don't know how it all works in the big scheme of the budget, but this is for anybody. Can you explain to our listeners how a police budget works? Because it's not January to December. It's July to June, and then it's kind of like it's based on taxes and what they think and what the budget. They're going to give you how much money, and the budgets are projected. Is that correct?
I think it is, and there's quarterly, all the different divisions and departments have to report how much money they're spending, not spending, what they need to move around, and then the planning for the next year's budget is already going on. I think we're 6 months before the end of the fiscal year, and the planning for the budget probably started back in November. So it sounds like they're projecting that there's some shortfalls this year and next year. So I can only imagine it's not going to look real good. Our police department budgets, we're the biggest budget in the city, and it grew, but people forget what a big city it is that we police. They just see the number and they think that's outrageous, but we are responsible for a very big area and a lot of people and a lot of things going on. So
Donovan, you hired people, and then And then Jesse, did they take any people away from your budget as far as police officers?
No, they didn't take anybody away. We stayed the same. I mean, I think the biggest thing with us is we're always around full, plus or minus. I mean, we've talked about this. Like, I thought the last podcast we were like a couple away from getting overhired, and then we were at even, and then we had a couple retire. So we're always right around that area. But no, they didn't take anybody away. We just had, like I said, the guys that were able to retire that maybe could have put another 5-6 years in or whatever, decided to pull the plug and take their pension then, and we just couldn't refill them in that 2020, 2021 phase. We lost a couple people, but that just left policing completely, but not that many.
So it sounded like Donovan, Federal Way, and Westminster, Jesse. Sounds like your city liked you guys.
Yeah, our city does like us. We've talked about that a lot. We have a lot of support, from our city, our city council, our citizens really, love us. I think some of the people we arrest maybe don't like us too much, but most of the citizens that live there, they, again, I've talked about this before. They wave at us. They know you by name. If you're driving your beat and you're doing a good job on patrol, your business owners and your neighborhoods and everything like that. So yeah, in Westminster, our citizens like us.
So let's not pick on LAPD, but let's talk about LAPD.
Well,
because
well, I want to say, I know there's always a dislike for the police, but there's so many people that do really, really appreciate LAPD. Mm-hmm. It's just that those people are probably not busy shouting it from the rooftops and, going onto Twitter or X. They're just doing their, living their lives, right? But I would say that most of my interactions in 27 years have been positive. But I guess I'm just the glass is half full kind of person today.
And so to fill in the gap between 2020, so Donovan and Jesse didn't experience what went on around the nation, because it was a big deal around the nation about recruitment. So Robin, you came in to LAPD in 2022. I mean, to recruitment in 2022.
2023. The beginning of 2020.
2023. So what was the condition of recruitment in 2023? Because now we're talking 3 years later. So what was the condition of recruitment for you then?
Well, backing up, before I made captain, I remember I didn't sit too far away from where there was a recruitment captain office. And I remember them talking about what would happen if they'd stop hiring. And I remember specifically hearing him say, if you stop the hiring, you're not going to get it going again fast. And I don't think they listened to him. So I go on, I leave, I go make captain, I move around a couple, times. And then in about February of 2023, I get brought into recruitment because the former captain retired. And I was told, this is going to be a heavy lift. And at first, I realized now that it was never about me. But back then, I was like, wow, there's all these things that are going to help me out, and we're going to be a success, and it's going to be great. Let's do this. Because I knew we had money for advertising that had been allocated to us from the city, which was a new thing. We also, there was talk about a hiring bonus that hadn't come into play yet, but it sounded pretty good. And I thought, okay, this will be, a first for LAPD. Well, the hiring bonus never came to pass. The money that we had for advertising didn't get spent right away because we had to do the contract process, and it takes such a long time that the prior captain probably should have started that process, but for whatever reason, it didn't get started. So I had to start it. And I think I started it mid 2023, and it finished, or it commenced in August of 2024 is when we were able to get into contract with the company. So it took a long time. And what else? Well, then the officers got a very nice contract, and it raised the starting pay. The first level, the starting pay was like $88,000 a year, which is pretty good for LAPD. And I think it's higher than that now. I think they've gotten a raise or two. But I thought, hey, we'll do okay.
And so here we are. So then, for the people who don't understand how all this stuff works, I think people who are applicants that want to be recruited, all they see is ads or recruitment websites, and that's all they know. But there's a lot of stuff under the hood that goes on. So for all three of your agencies, how is the money allocated, and how is it dispersed, and how do you decide how much you're going to use for recruitment advertising and how much are you going to use for recruiters? How is the money spent? I
just have a P card and I put money on it. And if I don't get yelled at, then I figure it's okay. And if I get yelled at, then I don't do it.
That works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we do. So I have a budget of spending money, but honestly, a lot, like I actually don't spend a whole lot of money. I mean, I'll do some of my trips, but even like the California trip I went on over the summer wasn't that expensive because a lot of the stuff I've done is trial and error. So there's certain things that I just won't do again that maybe spend a little bit, it costs a little bit of money. So like I'll save money right there. But they do allocate, for us, a lot of the stuff that we do from an advertising perspective doesn't cost a lot, or it doesn't cost anything at all. And so I think like for people watching, if you're in a department that has little to no recruiting budget, it's very doable to do stuff free or for very cheap. I mean, I just try to not spend money if I don't have to. But if I do, I mean, it's always something I can prove. Hey, we went here, we did this, or we did this advertisement, and this was the return on it, and it's never an issue for us.
Robin, I don't know if you knew that Jesse went out to California. He was going to go recruit some LAPD officers, but you ended up in San Diego, right?
So no, I flew into San Diego. I was in Oceanside. So I was like in Oceanside, Carlsbad. I wasn't going to recruit LAPD. I would never do that ever. No. Yeah.
No,
that was
lying.
It was indirectly if it happened, but yeah. We actually had a couple people applying out of that one. I had a couple officers from some of the, I don't know what you guys call it, the in between San Diego and LA. What's that area called? There's so many cities I've heard of over there. I had a couple officers show some interest that just logistically they liked Westminster, wanted to move, but for whatever reason, family or something, they just couldn't pull the trigger on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Donovan, where do you get your money from? Where did you get your money from?
I had someone hired me. We had a budget. I would go ask them. We were trying everything under the sun, all new things that we'd never tried before. Worked with a couple companies to get us some social media ads running. Got some spots on internet radio. One thing that I really worked on was geofencing with our ads, trying to figure out where were the hot spots for us to try to really glom onto the laterals that we could snag in state, so we didn't have to worry about sending them to an academy or anything. So we were geofencing some specific areas where we knew people would be when they hop on the internet. Our ad would pop up on them, so when they're on their NDC and they had to pull up Google, we knew our ad would pop up while they were in a specific area. So we were trying everything we could. I was never turned down on anything when I would ask for money for something. So my bosses understood it was a vital thing that we would try anything and everything for the recruiting. So.
Oh, interesting. So, Robin, I left you for last because LAPD recruitment and money and budget and personnel, it's all big beast of a thing. So how is money allocated to LAPD recruitment, and how does it work with personnel's budget, and how does it even work?
Well, back in the early 2000s, personnel became responsible for the recruiting and hiring of LAPD officers amongst other public safety. So they are the ones that got the budget. And I think that worked for some time, but before I came into recruitment, the decision was made that LAPD wanted to seek its own advertising and shape and mold it using our sensibilities and our taste. We wanted it to look like something a police officer wanted to see, not something that someone thought a police officer would want to see. And that personnel department still has a budget. They still do marketing and advertising. I wish I, was a little more involved in that, but on the other hand, I'm grateful that they do it. They put ads on Indeed, sponsored ads on Meta platforms. I think there's something on Spotify right now. I'm not sure exactly what. I just learned about that today. And then on my side, I have a budget. I entered into the city entered into a contract with the company for a year, and then if it works out, we can renew it for another year, and then maybe another year after that. But it's all dependent on if I get the money budgeted, and we got the amount of the contract was just enough where we can't spend any more than what the contract says. But it left us a little money if we want to travel or go to seminars or hiring fairs and pay for that. Personnel will pay for some of those. The traveling for us has been, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it a mixed bag. It definitely sounds like something people like. It's a feel-good technique to tell them, hey, we went to this military base or these colleges. But in the end, we're not able to test people out of state, and it's really a long shot to get them to move unless they were from California or Los Angeles Metro. So we haven't done a lot of traveling lately because I just didn't see we were getting anything out of it. We've got so many people here, a lot of competition here, a lot of other agencies, whereas in some of the smaller towns I've talked to, they're sort of the only game in town, and we're not the only game in town.
Mm-hmm. How, for all three, you started with Donovan, give me your take on recruitment videos. What's the flavor of the recruitment videos that you guys like to see, and what actually reaches today's candidates? Because I've seen recruitment videos that are very soft sell. In my opinion, police work's a little harder than that. And so what's your opinion about recruitment videos and what they should look like?
Well, the first thing I always do is I think about trying to be nice about this, the attention span of the person that we're trying to target. So if you don't have something exciting in the first 6 to 7 seconds, you're going to lose them. So that's one of the things is you got to catch them quick. I think we need to, some agencies shied away, I think in 2020 and a little bit after that from doing any of the like SWAT stuff, any of the firearms training, because, guns were scary and bad and we can't handle looking at those things. And I think I'm seeing more agencies now going back to showing, hey, this is the job we do. They're showing more of the street stuff rather than, hey, let's talk to someone on the street. So 2020, I think they became very vanilla. They became very touchy-feely. And I think now we're starting to see that return back to, hey, we got to grab someone's attention very quick. And we have to get our message out, I think, quick as well, because when you start looking at analytics on those view times on Instagram and all the social medias, you're really getting maybe about 19 seconds tops. For someone to watch a video. So you have to get it in very quickly.
I agree. I think, and if what I'm about to say, one of the viewers doesn't like it, then you're one of these people. But I don't like, have you heard the phrase TikTok cops?
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand that.
I've seen.
I see that all the time. You see these departments and they're doing their dances and their other stuff. And like, I understand the point of it, of like trying to have fun, but it's cheesy. Like, I don't know. I can't stand the TikTok cops. I agree. I think, you can't have these 2-minute, videos directed by Steven Spielberg that show every part of your apartment with a dramatic effect and a plot, like 15 to 30 seconds tops, and show a little bit of everything. So I think you do need to show SWAT. I think you need to show shooting. I think you need to show detective working. I think you need to show community policing, but you can get, quick snippets of that and kind of put together. We're doing a little one right now for a hiring process we're running. So I think it can be good. I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody did some TikTok, cheesy video and had success, but I can't do that. Like, I won't do that. I just think it brings the profession down. So I say bring a little bit of everything, because people need to see. Yeah, I agree. I think people went away from the SWAT and the shooting and stuff, but that's part of police work. So you have to be truthful with it, but you have to show every aspect of the job, not just what you think, the people want to see, or, a couple cops dancing to some song with some like TikTok video. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent there. That it just annoys me when I see that.
No, I'm with you, because the internet is largely narcissistic.
Yeah.
It's always any internet site, any website you go to is look at me, look at my company, look at my influencing, look at what I do. And that's what TikTok is. And I don't think people are going to go, look at this stupid TikTok cop, I want to join their department.
I've actually had people come up, like, there's people that were thinking about being cops, whether I was at a college or military base or whatever. And they were like, thank you for not posting some video like that. Like, that actually turns them off from applying to some departments. Again, I'm sure some people probably like it, but the majority, I don't think they do.
And you had some people in San Diego that came up to you and said, "Hey, weren't you on the police applicant?"
Yeah, when I was at Pendleton, I had a couple people come up and ask me. They'd either seen me on the podcast or they'd seen my stuff on Police One. So, I mean, that for me, that's way better, because it's actual, it's legit related to police work. They didn't say, "Are you that dude on Instagram, doing cartwheels and stuff?" First off, I can't do cartwheels. But secondly, no, I'm not. So that was pretty cool when I was out in California to have that.
That was
Jesse, that opens us up. Now we're going to get some AI stuff, and you're going to see some videos coming out of you doing some cartwheels now.
Anybody who knows me will know it's AI, because I physically cannot do a cartwheel. So by all means, do it.
Just as an aside.
AI. So it's kind of like cringy. It's like, I don't know. I don't see people getting into the AI right now, but Ken knows me well enough to know how I feel about social media. And I have a lot of things to say, but I will say that there's a highly trained psychologist for the city that confirms what Donovan and Jesse said out of their own heads. So the experts back you up. Our marketing as a profession was going in the wrong way. We weren't showing actual police work, police equipment, and just police activities. And our advertising agency mentioned it was almost like we were apologizing for being cops. And I remember when they told me that, I pounded my fist on the table. I'm like, I will not apologize. It's ridiculous. And Ken, you know me, and I think I'm pretty savvy when it comes to social media, and I have a certain taste. And I'm like, to my social media person, why can't we just keep this simple? You show a black and white, you show someone in a nice uniform, you show some equipment, you show a regular person talking about what they do, why they became a cop. I mean, that's human. That's a nice thing. Not everything has to be running and gunning, but we show a little of that too. But I told him I didn't want to see the complicated storyline and the barbecuing. And, So not even 1 out of 10 of our posts has that kind of sentiment anymore. We're talking about, especially with LAPD, and I know I'm going to sound like I'm full of LAPD, but we're really unrivaled as an agency. We've got a lot going on, and a lot of agencies follow suit after what we do. And I'm like, well, we need to sell ourselves as unrivaled, and what makes us unrivaled. And there's a lot of that I think will be coming out in our future ads. I mean, we have history that goes all the way back to 1869. We have a really diverse community that's close to 500 square miles. We have great benefits, and we're always buying good technology and the latest stuff for the cops. And then we have a ton of opportunities too in the department. So,
sorry.
I think, and I remember I went to a seminar from, I don't know his last name, but he goes by Nick Off Duty. He's the Miami recruiter.
Oh yeah, I know who he is.
And he's actually really savvy, very clever. He had something go viral, and I think that's what people are seeking, because if you have that one viral post, and it brings you millions of views, you can't even put a price on what that's worth for your department. But if you try to go viral and then you miss, then it's cringe. And then if you try and hop on the end of a trend, that's even more cringy.
You know which one was really good? And again, so did you guys see that Fort Worth one where they're like used car salesmen?
Yeah.
Like, I would never do that. So for my supervisors that are watching this, don't get any ideas. I will not do that. But that one actually made me laugh. Like, I don't know. They had like 10 million views or something on it. And I'm sure they got some applications. That one was actually pretty funny. But and I agree. I saw that Miami one too. It was pretty good too.
Yeah, the Miami one was really well done. The Fort Worth one, I mean, it worked for them. It was for what they're like and how big their department is. It had it was funny, it was cute, but, could you or I duplicate that? Probably not. It would come off weird, right?
I agree. So
when I applied, there was no social media and there was no commercials to join. And so it was advertisements in the newspapers, and it was, hey, join or don't. We don't care. And I think that to a certain degree, police departments, that's what you need to do. It's a little more difficult today. But I really believe that if you put it out there that people, and you just say, hey, this is what we do. This is who we are. This is what we pay. Join or don't. We're not going to hold your hand, because we're looking for people that are self-starters, that are tough people that want to come and do police work. And Robin's going to hate me for saying this, but I was I was there way back when in 1997 doing LAPD backgrounds, and then I left in 2018. So I have a lot of experience in seeing how the LAPD machine works as far as recruitment goes. And prior to 2022 or 2023, when Robin came in, I'm just going to say it because recruitment efforts with LAPD were silly and they were dumb. And after 2023, Robin came in, and now if you look at the recruitment for Join LAPD, the ads and the videos, they're badass. And Robin is steering that ship, and I'm going, you can absolutely see the change of what Robin is saying. And I think all police departments need to do this. She's got there's videos of these military guys, and they're in their military uniforms. And then all of a sudden they jump, and now they're in LAPD uniforms, and you've got these really good static ads too. And how I just, I don't know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that type of recruitment works. And so is that the goal?
I mean, for us, we're in such a big area with, I guess, LA Metro as an advertising market is very expensive. and you're competing against a lot of really flashy things, and then other departments and other types of jobs. It's just, there's a lot of stuff here to choose from. Just, besides being a cop, being a fireman, there's just all kinds of things, and there's all kinds of things to distract you here. So I think we do have to kind of be on the move when it comes to our social media, and that's why we're trying to switch it up. And some things, really resonate with people. Again, though, I want to make sure it resonates with the people that work at LAPD, because nothing is a downer more than when your own coworkers say, "Man, that ad is a dud. What were you doing? What are you thinking? Mm-hmm. It makes me ashamed to be here." No. Everything has to be about the pride. So, we don't want to scare our own people off.
No. And do you guys recruit? What's your target audience? Is it local people? Is it out of state? Is it laterals? Who's the target that you're trying to reach?
For me, it's local. And, LAPD used to not be a place that laterals came to, and they're starting to come. It's really kind of cool to see. I think there was it used to be like, oh, LAPD wants its own training, and we don't really necessarily want laterals. Well, a lot of the laterals we're seeing, they went to our academy anyways. So they're coming back. Sometimes they just didn't get hired at LAPD and they got hired somewhere else first, but LAPD would have been their first choice, and one way or another, they're going to try and get here. I've been thinking about who's likely to be a good police officer who sticks with it. It's military, 100%. I think military, because they already understand the demands of the job. Legacy candidates, relatives of people who are already on the job one way or another, or someone who grew up around police officers and they thought it was a cool thing that they looked up to. And then I would add someone who is involved in cadets or explorers and had a lot of exposure to the department that way. Those are your key core group of people that are going to be really solid for you. And I think LAPD's problem is there's just not enough of those people. We have to look in other areas too. And that's why we're so busy trying to attract people that necessarily didn't think about being a cop when they were growing up, like you and I did. When we were growing up on Adam 12 and then watching Life on the Beat and, all kinds of stuff.
And Jesse, who are you recruiting?
Honestly, I'm kind of getting a little bit of everybody. So we at Westminster, we're pretty heavy on laterals. We always have been, myself included. I was a lateral. And we've been really good with getting laterals from all over the country. We have the last lateral process we had, I'm not going to name the departments, but I think we had 6 major city departments around the country that applied to us. Plus we had a couple from, some suburbs from some other states. And then we always get our local laterals as well. As far as entry level goes, a lot of times I try to do stuff where I just introduce policing to them. So, whether I go and I talk to, some of our local college sports teams, from, Colorado State University, I can't even tell you how many I've had football players, soccer players, softball players, swimmers come down. They do ride-alongs where, whether they maybe didn't know what their career path was going to be after athletics, and now they're, considering police work and they're only considering Westminster. I'll go speak to colleges where, they didn't even know policing was a job. One of the big things is I tell them what we make, which, obviously you don't become a cop to get rich, but we do make a very good living. And for some reason, they all think we make about a quarter of what we actually do. So just them hearing our actual salary helps out a lot. So that'd be more for our academy. But for us, it's more like, are you do you have good character? Do you have good work ethic? And do you have integrity? Because we're going to teach you how to be a Westminster cop. So if you have the right character and the right attributes, then, we'll teach you all the rest of it. So it's pretty much everybody, but we get applications from all over. Our entry level application that we just opened up, today. I already know of, I think, 6 or 7 out-of-staters that applied, and there'll be more coming in. Again, we keep getting laterals from, I have a couple from California, none from LA, so don't worry, but I have a couple from California. So yeah, just kind of all over and really everything. I mean, I'm not, there's nobody specifically that I'm focusing on.
And Donovan, where does Federal Way get their coverage?
It's mostly the locals, those locals in the area. We tried laterals for a while, and we're still open to them. What I found, though, in our area at least, we were finding more of the laterals were running from something rather than just looking for a different place. And what we've been finding too now is even with those people that are lateraling away from our department, they find out the grass isn't greener, and they come back to us. But we found that in reverse as well. We'll bring a lateral over from a local agency. They'll work for us for a little while, and they're like, wait a minute, this is what I thought it was. And then they go back to their original agency as well. So for me, I know chiefs always say they want laterals because it's, cheaper on the training end and everything. But I think the recruiting that we're doing right now, even though I'm not involved in it, I know they're still looking heavily on the local entry levels because those are the ones that are sticking around.
Yeah, and we've talked about TikTok and advertisements and who are the targeted groups. Instagram, anybody heavy on Instagram?
Yeah, we are. I am personally, and as you know, I am personally, and I'm also our PD page, our Instagram page. We have a new PIO, and she's been very, very, very heavy on the on Instagram. It's been helping out quite a bit.
Yeah. And Robin, that's where I see most of your recruitment stuff on Instagram.
Instagram's I think the most expensive if you want to sponsor an ad, but I think we get our best metrics from Instagram. I would say Facebook is just not the place, not for the 20 to 30 set, and then TikTok. The algorithms are so strange. And there's also a lot of junk on there. I'm on TikTok, but it just doesn't seem the place to get a job. It seems like it's the place to gawk at weird things and crazy people, and maybe that'll change. I know people wanted us to get into TikTok, but it seems like it's easier to get your police department on TikTok for something bad than for something good. Mm-hmm. It seems like drama sells on TikTok.
And Donovan, is Federal Way on Instagram?
They are. They're on Instagram. They're on Twitter or X, I guess, and then Facebook as well. They hit them all. And they just too, within the past, I think, year and a half, they hired a new social media person, and she's been really pumping stuff out. So getting everything out that they need to get out to make the department a little bit more attractive.
Cool. I could not let the interview be finished up at all without mentioning Reddit. Donovan and I did an episode on Reddit, and I don't know what to say about that. But if you want to hear about our take on Reddit, you should go listen to that episode. But I will say that we did an interview earlier with Robin is the captain of LAPD recruitment, and we put I put an announcement out there on Reddit, and I put it on the our LAPD one, and within 2 or 3 days, no kidding, there were over 4,000 views. I don't know what it is now, but there were over 4,000 views on Reddit, and I'm sure you probably got about 3,000 applications from that alone. But Reddit, what's the deal with Reddit? Is it the place to go, or what do you guys think?
I always thought, I don't know, I know what Reddit is, and I mean, I'm not like on it or anything, but I always thought, wasn't it more of like negative and like false information stuff on there? Like I've read stuff from other I've just like gone to Reddit and I'll start reading comments, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done after like the first 5. I don't know, I could be wrong.
I mean, I know there's some trolls on there, but I started seeing Reddit as a really completely anonymous place where people are talking about their personal private experiences, including the LAPD hiring process. And, they'll know now that I look on there and I see some of our candidates chatting and, trying to get through parts of the process. And then I see people giving useful advice. And then I see trolls giving not useful advice. But that from going from LAPD, I started looking, if you ever need to know something, go to Reddit, take a look, put in keywords, and there's somebody that knows something. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was very sophisticated, but I'm starting to like it a lot more.
Yeah, I like it for some of the stuff I see, but Donovan, what do you think about Reddit?
You know my feelings on Reddit. There's more bad information than good information on there. To me, it's another form of TikTok for me. I like to watch train wrecks in the process, so that's why I watch TikToks. That's why I would like to read Reddit, because there's just so much bad stuff going on in there.
I think the thing with Reddit, I've actually never looked at it for police stuff, but like I think I was like just scrolling it for like seeing what people were saying for various fitness information, which is kind of my wheelhouse. And I was reading it, and some of the advice people were giving, I was like, oh, you're going to hurt somebody. And I was like, okay, I'm done with Reddit after this. So I'm pretty much an Instagram guy. I think Instagram's the way to go. But I mean, obviously, if you guys had good success on Reddit, by all means.
Well, I agree with you. I think sometimes there's some good advice on Reddit from candidates that come in and go, yeah, this is my experience, and they give some pretty solid advice. And then there's people that go on there and say, yeah, so I was walking down the street naked and the police stopped me. Can I get hired? And I'm like, why are you putting this stuff on the internet?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to take it all with a grain of salt, I suppose. Trust but verify.
Mm-hmm. We have fun with Reddit. I'll post every once in a while. I'll post something on Instagram over it. So real quickly, did the candidates come back in 2024?
For us, yeah, we've been getting quite a few applicants. I mean, we'll open a couple processes just for one academy. So we might open 3 or so processes for an academy. Number one, it helps our workload. Obviously, we're not as big as LAPD, so it helps our workload for the amount of investigators we have. But also, as you guys know, and Donovan was talking about, the quality is not what it used to be. So for us to just fill an academy, we have to open it to get the right amount of people there, but because they just weed themselves out. But as far as the numbers go, I don't know if they'll ever be back to what they were in, like when I was applying in 2012, back then and everything, but they're definitely coming back. There's a lot more interest. A lot more people are open to it. So I would say yes. It's definitely on an upward trend, and at least for Westminster, we're doing pretty good with that.
What do you think, Donovan? Did they come back?
I would say that the candidates we're looking for are starting to come back. And I can't remember. I was just listening to a podcast, and they had a conversation. It made a lot of sense. As our generation has been raising our kids, and especially the cops, we're always, as recruiters, we're looking for that alpha that's going to be able to come in and take control, right? But as we raise those alphas, we're telling them, hey, you don't take any crap from anyone. You don't settle for something that you don't think you're worthy of. And during that 2020 to right about now, police departments were not doing us any favors. So those alphas were looking at the police department saying, they're not treating their employees right. Why would I go work there? So we weren't getting those alphas that were, always looking to be a police officer. And I think now departments have, I don't know if they've actually noticed what they've done, but they know that now they have to pick their game up with benefits, with pay, with the way they treat their employees. And I think that's why we're starting to see those people coming back into the system that said, hey, I've always had that interest in law enforcement. We're starting to get more of those candidates back rather than, I can't find any other job. I might as well try here. Or I've been sitting in my mom's basement playing Call of Duty. Can I come be a cop? So I think we're starting to see those alpha applicants starting to get back in the system.
Robin, what do you say? Are they coming back?
I think they are. I think that for us, where we were a department, used to be 10,000, and now we're at about 8,700. We still have 8,700, and those people should be our best recruiters. So it starts with how they perceive the job, how their wellness is, how they perceive to be treated, what kind of satisfaction that they're getting out of their job. Not just, it can't just be for money. It has to be more than that. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going in the right direction. We have a wonderful new chief. There's a lot of new things going on in LA County. We got a new district attorney elected, and the mayor's been very good to us. And I think that along with that, we have to hope that we're far enough along from the pandemic where someone who was 18 and they went into lockdown, now that person's 23. And what is that, what did that person miss out on in their life? And did they miss out on a little growth and maturity? So I think as we get a couple years past that, we're going to see people that didn't feel like they missed out on a year or two of their life. And bringing people back to work. I think that's really important because I heard like Amazon and Google are ending telework, and that's great. That's great. We got to get people back out in the world.
Jesse, you made a comment earlier about the quality of the candidates. You reminded me of a Reddit that came out last week, and the person asked, they said, "I'm interested in LAXPD and LAPD. What are the hours like?" And I thought, what are the hours like? What does 24/7 mean to you?
Yeah, that was
and it's true. I mean, some of the questions you get, for us, for example, our drug use policy is, 1 year removed from marijuana, 5 years from all other drugs. And I've had people say, "Hey, I did mushrooms a year ago. That's good, right?" And I'm like, "No." It's just some of the questions they ask. They don't, I don't know if they don't understand, they're not comprehending or what, but it's stuff I would never ask, and like I even got stuff too where, maybe somebody gets turned down for the job for whatever reason, and then they'll text me or they'll email me and say they'll screenshot the rejection email and say, "Hey, was this a mistake?" And I'm like, "What? Like, would you ever do that?" Like, I wouldn't even fathom that, when I was testing, but that happens now too, because I do know a lot, especially the younger generation, they're used to having stuff handed to them or whatever it may be. No, it was a mistake. Whatever reason you didn't get it, move on, test again. It doesn't mean you're not going to get it. But if you text me and ask me, was this a mistake, then you're probably not going to want to apply again,
Mm-hmm.
So we've only got a couple of questions left, and moving forward, 2025 it seems like a world away from 2020. To me, it does, as far as police recruitment goes. Mm-hmm. And for you guys, there's two parts to this question. The first part is, what does a good candidate look like to you guys? Who should be applying? And what does 2025 look like to you for your recruitment? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel now? There's a lot that has gone on in the country at the end of 2024, and does the future look bright in that regard? Has recruitment turned a corner? Let's start with Robin.
I think it has. I think a good candidate, I can't believe I have to say this, but a good candidate has had a really strong work history of full-time work that would indicate that they could handle the rigors of the academy and then the job. Because I think that's where we're seeing some people that realize that they weren't ready for the reality. And I think we're seeing that because when I was 22, I already had my own apartment, a car payment, a full-time job, a college degree, and I was already set, right? But now 23, 24, 25-year-olds are not exactly at that level, and they're a little behind. educated and able to handle the academics, I think, is really important, and physically fit. Because, as I understand it, even though it might not be what it was 30, 40 years ago, the academy is really rigorous. And, the video games and stuff, I don't think it's getting people out there and running and doing push-ups and sit-ups and everything else.
Donovan, you see the recruits. You work the academy. What does your perfect candidate look like?
I'm going to tell you, it's going to be someone who's got life experience. And everyone's like, well, someone who comes out of college, they seem like the perfect candidate because they can handle the studies, all that. I found a lot of luck with people who have maybe gotten done with high school. They've gone into an apprenticeship or some blue collar type work where they're working with their hands and they're putting in a hard day's work. They understand what it takes. And then they understand when they get to the academy that pretty much their career's on the line. Where when you have someone who comes out of college, they're more like, oh, this is just another college thing. I expect to pass, that kind of stuff in this day and age. So I'm looking for that person that really has that good base in life. I don't want someone coming in who is just coming out of their mommy's basement after doing online classes and maybe worked at Burger King for 6 months. I want someone who's been out there working, earning a paycheck for a while, because then I know that they're going to have some commitment there, and they understand that this isn't a game. This is real life, and you need to do the work in order to make a paycheck.
Yeah, Jesse?
I would say for us, I'm going to do more generalization than credentials. So all you need for us is a high school diploma or a GED. I'm going to say work ethic, integrity. Apparently, everybody's failing the polygraph right now because they all lie. So work ethic, integrity, responsibility, and owning your mistakes. Like if you make a mistake, in whether it's your background in previous, what you're doing previously on the job, own it, move on from it. That's it. If you can do that, and I have to say it because I've noticed a lot of the candidates, they have integrity issues. They're lazy. If they make a mistake, there's always an excuse for it. Just own it. Like, yeah, you made a mistake. Happens. We all do. Move on. If you have those, you'll be a good candidate in our book. Again, the credentials, all you need for us is a high school diploma or GED. Nothing else. And to be 21. But we don't require anything else because we're looking for good people, not necessarily somebody with a, super thick resume.
And as far as the candidates go for the Police Applicant podcast, the demographics that we're hitting really heavy on is 25 to 35-year-olds. That's our target audience. That's the biggest listeners. Would you say that that's a good group because of maturity?
Yeah,
I think so. Everybody matures at a different age. I got hired when I was 28. I was not ready to be a cop when I was 21. Apparently Robin was. I definitely was not. So if I do like that 25 to 30 demographic because, it is. For us, it doesn't matter if you're 21 or 61. If you're a good person, we'll hire you. But I do think 25 to 30 is a good age because you're past that college age. You're kind of starting to mature mentally, physically and everything, and becoming responsible. So yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, Robin, you were going to say too?
I don't know what I was going to say
about maturity. I was saying the maturity, 25, 35-year-olds.
I actually came on when I was 25, but I had finished college and had a full-time job at a corporate company. But I think we did a cross-section of our applicants for a small period of time, and 75% of them are below the age of 35. That makes sense. And then the 20 to 25 are above that age. But I'm noticing people that apply that are older and maybe even have a really great job. Sometimes they're not serious about taking our job. We've offered them the job after we've gone through the whole process, and they say no thanks. So in the end, we're getting a lot of. We don't do those non-selects like some agencies do up front. where they just non-select you before we even put you through the process.
You're right. Yeah. And Donovan, what do you think about the maturity level of 25, 35? Good.
I think that's kind of like the prime area there, the 25 to 35. They have that life experience. They have some working experience, hopefully. They know, they kind of have a better idea of what they're looking for in life. And hopefully they have a little bit of financial education as well, so they understand what they're getting involved in, so that they don't start off on the wrong foot like some of the younger recruits that I've hired in the past, where they get that first paycheck and they're out spending the money right away. So
yeah, and as we close, I just want our listeners to know that police works hard. You get in fights, you work 24/7. Sometimes they call you and you go, you can't go home for 12 more hours for 2 weeks. And there's fires and there's riots and people are going to throw rocks at you and stuff like that. And you don't get to choose your assignments all the time. And it is really difficult work. And at the end of 25, 30 years, your back's going to hurt and you're going to be not like you were when you came in. So everybody should know that before they apply. If you can't hang with that, don't apply.
Mm-hmm.
Do not apply. So in closing, for each of you, why should candidates still apply in 2025? Anyone?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Why should they still apply is what you're asking?
Yeah.
I will tell you, I think you should still apply because you need to pick the right department for yourself. And if you pick the right department by doing your research, the job is going to be great. You're going to have a great group of people you're going to work with. You're going to have your shift. You're actually going to make a difference in your community. You're going to put bad guys in jail, and you're going to have a lot of fun doing it, and you're going to have a very rewarding career. Again, I think you need to pick the right department. I think, there's some people here you can talk to, myself and the other two that are at departments like that where you can have a very successful career. If you pick the wrong department, it's okay. You can always lateral somewhere. I lateraled a lot. Half of our department at Westminster lateraled. So if you're watching this, obviously you're thinking about being a cop. I would say continue to do so. It's a career that is like nothing else, and you can't describe it until you've actually been on it. I don't want to give all the cliches and everything else, but that's about the best description I can get. I could tell you stories, but until you actually experience those stories, it doesn't do justice.
Right, Robin, why should they apply?
Because it's a career within a career. Like for me, I've held 5 ranks. I've had 5 different badges. You get to join up with not just coworkers, but it ends up being a family. People, get their lifelong friends from this job, and people that they have similar attitudes that they can relate to. There's immense benefits. Most police departments, especially if you have a bargaining unit or a union like LAPD does, they get educational benefits. You can pay for college, work overtime, save for a house. A lot of other companies just don't offer that same. My old company, you just went to work and you went home. There wasn't anything to it about enhancing your life. And I think joining up with the right police department, especially with LA, you can build yourself into a better, more educated person.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good memories that you take with you from all your friends and all your adventures too. Donovan, why should they apply?
I got to say, it's probably the best career that you can ever pick. I've just now hit my 1 year anniversary of being retired, and I'll tell you, I still miss working the road. If I could go back, I probably would go back, because you see people at their highest point in their life, and you see people at the lowest point in their life, and you get that opportunity to make an impact on people in your community. And there's nothing better than doing that. You're not always going to know the impact you make, but just in the end, when you look back at your career, you're able to say, I made a difference. And I think that's the best thing there is. I mean, I could get into who else is going to pay to shoot guns, drive fast, and all that stuff. Jesse didn't want to go down those cliches. I will, but it is probably the best career that you could ever have. You never will have the same day twice.
Honestly, you get paid to shoot guns and drive fast. It's a lot of fun.
Drive fast.
All three of us said it. Like, we kind of wrapped it all up into a big package. That's law enforcement offers endless possibilities, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a kick in the pants. End of the day, all these years later, my academy class is going to celebrate our 45th anniversary in April. And I can, even all these years later, I still have stories. I remember stuff that was so much fun. And I remember cops that were legends. And just we put so many bad guys in jail. That's the stuff that you remember. And that's important to take that from your career. And that's why you be a cop. So I want to thank you guys, everybody, for being here. And Donovan, I thank you at the last minute for being a guest instead of being a co-host. So how can they apply at each of your departments? So Jesse, go first.
Yeah, for Westminster. So you can reach out to me. You can email me or text me, or you can go to our website. It's westminsterco.gov. So westminstercolorado.gov. We actually have our applications open right now. Lateral applications open year round. We have an entry-level process open right now. You don't have to put it up. On my last podcast I did, and actually a bunch of people text me. If you text me, my number is 720-705-3732. I get texts all the time from people saying they saw the podcast. Hit me up. I'll respond back and get you all squared away for the application or whatever else you need.
There you go. Robin, how can they join LAPD?
Go to joinlapd.com. All the information that you would need to apply, to take a test. And there is a phone number on there if you want to talk to a mentor during business hours.
And the mentors are actual police officers who are recruiters?
Yes, they are. One of them has been a police officer for 30 years. Wow. And he loves being a mentor. Absolutely loves it.
I probably know that officer, maybe.
I think you do.
And Donovan, how can they join Federal Way, Washington PD?
Federal Way, they can go to fwrecruiting.com. All the information's there. If they just want to text with a recruiter, they can go to 253-293-6249. Someone has that phone all the time, and they'll text back most time during the day, except obviously during the nights they won't. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I appreciate you guys being here for our season 5 kickoff. And like I say, I did not lie when I said we get the all-stars of people that were involved in recruiting and hiring and all that. So I hope they get a hold of you. And if you have any questions for these guys individually, you know how to get a hold of Jesse. If you have a question for Robin, send it to me, Ken at policebackground.net, and Donovan, obviously, Donovan at policebackground.net. And with that, we will close and we will be back.